And welcome to Filmi Ladies. We're Pithu and Beth, and today we're going to talk about another filmy lady. We're going to do the next episode in our female superstar series, and we're going to talk about the one and only Madhuri. I know a lot of our subscribers are very excited about this episode because we've gotten messages about it, and we're very excited about it too. What do I say about Madhuri? Okay, so she debuted in 1984 with Abodh, a Rajashri production that I've seen. It's kind of cute. And she's now, I think, like 57 years old. She's done something like 63 movies. Mm-hmm. Most recently, she was in Bhool Bhulaiya 3, which is a movie I have not seen, but Beth has. She does dance reality shows. She's also ventured into the OTT space. I watched her in The Fame Game, which was really good. Yeah. I can't remember if Majama was OTT or if it was like a theatrical release, but I mean, I've seen Majama as well. She also does a lot of endorsements and stuff. Her Insta game is on point. There's a lot to talk about here. So I decided to rewatch two movies of hers that I've seen a really long time ago, but didn't remember very well. Except for the fact that I enjoyed both of them. So I watched a serious one, which was Pukar, and then I watched Khel, which is a comedy. Pukar is from 2000, I believe, and it's a very interesting movie. I wanted to watch it because, if I'm not mistaken, it is the only movie she's ever done where she plays an actual villain. Like she's an out and out bad person without a lot of justifications and validation and stuff like that given for it. And she has like a whole dialogue where she accepts she's done bad things, and then there's a lot of learning and growing. So I thought that was interesting because typically big A-list Hindi film heroines and superstars do not do those kind of roles. So I really wanted to get into Pukar, and I thought she was great in it. I then watched, as a palate cleanser, I wanted to watch something light and frivolous and frothy. So I watched Khel, which is a Rakesh Roshan movie. I think it's from like 92 or something. And it's apparently a remake of the Hollywood screwball comedy, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. I have not watched that film, so I can't speak to it. But Khel is very enjoyable. It also ends in a cake fight, which is another reason to recommend it. And I was very tempted to take screenies for our friend Aditi Sain, but I didn't because there were a lot of cakes being thrown around, Beth. Beth watched two movies, and when she WhatsApped me her choices, it really made me giggle because she said, I have picked one movie that is about medical malfeasance, and the other one is a cute movie. And I was like, okay, that's very vague, but also very specific at the same time. So I'll just let her tell us what she picked.
So one of those statements turned out to be incorrect. I did watch a movie about medical malfeasance.
Sailaab. So are you saying both your films are about malfeasance, just different kinds?
Different kinds of malfeasance. Yes, most certainly I am saying that. Okay. Which, 1990s mainstream Hindi films, it's going to happen. And also, if there were no malfeasance, we would have no plots about anything, I guess. So, all right. So I watched Sailaab, which is a movie in which she plays a psychiatrist, and she takes home one of her patients who actually tried to murder her. Got instead accidentally killed another patient who was living with her. These are very bad ideas.
Yeah.
Don't bring your patients home. They fall in love. He thinks she was involved with his sister's death. Of course, she wasn't. So he does try to murder her. And even in the climax of the film, he's like throttling her and throwing her all around and everything. It's really horrible. But their love triumphs because this is a pretty reprehensible movie, actually. Please don't watch it. It has a mega famous, beloved song right at the beginning that has nothing to do with anything. You can watch that song if you haven't already, and then nope, on out of this film. Aditya Pancholi, not anybody's idea of a romantic hero or any kind of hero, I think, at all. So he plays the guy who sometimes wants to kill her and sometimes is in love with her, and like it's gross. It's 90s gross. And then I watched Deewana Mujhsa Nahi. Yeah. Where Amir is a stalker, but it's played as cute. And he has all these lines about how, but I love her. And like, my love is true. I'm not stalking. And she repeatedly tells him no, and he doesn't listen. And then in the end, he saves her from what I guess we'll call an even worse man. I don't know. Or some, and various gundas who are after her. And then she's like, okay, I'm in love with you after all.
Right.
And it's really gross. So his stalking is rewarded. Um,
Right.
this came out in 1990 also. So I should have varied my year a little bit. I hadn't meant to do this, but you know, when I heard that Madhuri plays a fashion model slash actress in this one, I was like, great, outfits.
Yes.
And Pitu had said, outfits. I enjoyed the outfits. It's no Kunbari Mong. There's
Oh,
no like walk off or anything,
yeah.
but it's still, she has some fun clothes, but boy, that really was not enough. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm not an Amir Khan mega fan, but I like him and I liked their chemistry, which I feel bad saying because he is a stalker in the movie. He is a bad man, but he is not treated as a bad man, and it's really gross. And I watched both these films with our friend Melanie, the Tiger Schroff scholar, and we were talking about how is there another mainstream heroine who gets bashed around mentally and physically abused by the male characters who are supposed to either be her love interest or at least claim they love her. Anyone gets as bad a treatment as this woman. Um, I don't know. And Pitu and I had been talking, and she said Juhi also, and I can believe that. But it's the
I would
era,
also
I
say
guess.
Manisha.
Who?
Manisha as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's the era.
Era.
It's really gross. I don't like it. Don't watch these movies.
Yeah.
I also, to clean my palate, tried to rewatch Tezab, forgetting that the beginning of that, Anil slaps her around and is violent to her, even
Sab
though
is not a palate
that's
cleanser.
horrible. And I know Tezab, like I know I vaguely remember the story. So like I knew the whole thing wasn't going to be a palate cleanser, but I'd forgotten about him specifically towards her. So I turned that off. And then I rewatched Khalnayak, which is better, but Sanjay Dutt also manhandles her, throws her around, whatever. And like we know he's a villain, but he also claims he's in love with her and he's physically harming her while saying I love you, blah, 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 blah. So I chose really badly. I did refrain from watching Gajagamani. However, asterisk, stay tuned. That movie might
Yes.
appear on an episode of this podcast sometime soon. So I did want to see some things I hadn't already seen. I've only seen about 20 of her movies. Um,
Which
so
I think is a good number. I mean, I know you said you
it's not
haven't
bad,
seen
about a
all of hers,
third,
but I think it's a good number.
it's a bigger proportion than I have of some of the other people we've talked about who've done
Yeah.
150, 300, whatever movies.
Right.
But I just we can get into this more. The era in which she was a star is a huge stumbling block for me, or a huge
Hmm.
obstacle for me. As I've said many times, I have a really hard time with late 80s, mid 80s to kind of mid 90s. And that's the peak of her, I think. With some later 90s things too, but oh boy. I should
Yeah.
just watch the songs, honestly.
Yeah.
For this amazing woman who clearly is incredibly talented. She might be the most universally beloved woman
Yeah.
star in Hindi cinema as far as I have been able to discern from conversations with people.
I'd say so, yeah.
I've never heard anyone say they don't like her. I'm not even
Hmm.
sure I've ever met anyone who feels kind of like, like mildly
Right.
positive about her. That does not seem to be an acceptable opinion. Like if that is
Yeah.
someone's opinion, they don't say it. Um, I, I don't think I've ever seen anyone as beloved as she seems to be.
Yeah.
But for me, I probably am going to choose to stay further away, and I regret that in a way. But boy, these movies are awful.
Yeah. I think her late 90s movies or like early 2000s movies would appeal to you more. So, like, for example, I don't particularly care that much for Dil To Pagal Hai, but it's a
It's
fairly
better
vanilla
for
movie
sure.
as
That's
things
better.
go.
And
Yeah,
she sure does make so much sense as a Yash Chopra heroine, right? Like
yeah,
that. It's too bad there are not more of those.
right. Yeah.
Mhm.
But I am also partially to blame for telling you to watch Deewana Mujhsa Nahi because Beth was
Oh,
telling me,
I would have I mean the fashion model thing. I was like, sure, I'll watch
yeah.
it. And the Wikipedia entry I believe does say he's a stalker, and I think I
Mm,
didn't quite believe it because Wikipedia is full of nonsense sometimes, but
yeah. Yeah, because I'd seen Deewana Mujhsa Nahi so long ago. It's not like one of my favorite movies. So I've only
no.
seen it once years ago on Z Cinema, and I remember loving the songs in it. And like,
Hmm.
like they're not, it's not like a very memorable soundtrack, but there's all these songs where she's like posing and she's doing all these modelly
Yeah.
poses, and it's like it's so cute.
Yeah.
And I like her fits in this movie. And so I was like, oh yeah, you should watch Deewana Mujhsa Nahi. It's very cute. Warning, I think Amir may be stalker-esque in this film, but it's cute. And then I was like, oh shit. What path have I led Beth astray on?
Do they are they a pair in any other films?
Oh, so many.
Okay.
Dil is one of their biggest
Oh, of course. Why
like,
didn't I watch
heroes.
that? I don't know, but I didn't.
Well, Dil has a lot of questionable stuff too, though.
Sure.
I mean,
Is he a stalk? Is her love interest a stalker? The bar is very low.
I don't think he's a stalker in Dil, though. No.
Okay.
You should watch 100 Days, which I love because that's horror and it's
Oh, I
amazing. And
did. I've seen that and it is
yeah,
good. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Jeff is great in it. Anyway, so I lost my train of thought. Oh, I think the reason she is so beloved is because she kind of is. So we use this word a lot in India. I don't know if it's used in American parlance, but we say all rounder in India.
Sure.
Do you see that here?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So I feel like she's like an all-rounder, which
Yeah.
is why people love her because she appeals to whatever it is that you're looking for in a heroine. Like if
Mm,
you're just looking for acting chops and you don't care about whether the person is glamorous or whatever, you just care about the acting, she has that. If you
mm,
pretty much just care about people being pretty and glamorous and fashionable and aspirational, she has that. If you
mm.
really love dances and all your favorite heroines are dancing queens,
Yeah.
oh, she has that.
Yeah.
Um, so she kind of ticks all the boxes, whereas with a lot of other heroines, it's like they may have this, but they may not have that, right? And so it's not
Hmm.
as appealing. Maybe she's also done a lot of like variety of roles. So it's like if
Hmm.
people really like romantic films, she's done a lot of romantic films. But if
Hmm.
they're looking for more like edgy stuff, she's done stuff like Parinda or
Hmm.
Prahar, which are
Hmm.
very edgy. So it's kind of like there's something for everyone with her. Whereas with other stars, like say Juhi Chawla, there's not a lot of acting chops there.
Hmm.
Or with Juhi, she's amazing at comedy, so good in comedy, but she's really not that great in emotional scenes with like the
Hmm.
helium voice and everything. So it's kind of like, So I think that might be the reason for Madhuri's like love.
She's I would add to that to my eyes anyway. She
Mm,
also seems to pull off sexy
yes.
better than her contemporaries.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I'm sure there are exceptions.
For
And
sure.
and she is for people our age, this is going to be such a formative era, right? So if I talk to, I don't think that I'm having a ton of conversations about Hindi cinema with people who are like 25 years younger than I am. I'm here and there on the internet, but not like a ton. I don't know if she's as important to them. But
Right.
if you are our sort of Gen X, late millennial, or you are a different age, but you like that era, like she's obviously going to imprint hard.
Yeah. She was the biggest star of that
Right,
era. I mean,
right.
Sridevi was not really her contemporary because Sridevi started working a lot earlier
Slightly
than
earlier.
she
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
So, but then in her era, Madhuri was Queen Bee. She had a bigger box office pull than all of the heroes. She got paid more than them. Like she was
Hmm.
famously paid more than Salman for Hum Aapke Hain Kaun. She was famously paid more than Shah Rukh for some of the films. And so it's like like she didn't really have any kind of competitor. Like Juhi worked at the same. Like, Juhi's not in the same league though. I like
No.
Juhi,
Yeah, I do
but they're
too.
not equals. She
No.
didn't really have any kind of equal for the longest time. And then Meenakshi was kind of also in that, but then she kind of out Madhuri'd her. So I think that's also the formative years thing that you're saying does make a lot of sense as well.
And
I also like the fact, one thing I like about her is that she's done a lot of very women centric roles where
mm,
she had very meaty roles to play, where she's not just the pretty face in it. Like the movie may not be to one's liking, but she's always taken risks. Like I think when she did Anjam, like that's one of my favorite
yeah.
movies of hers.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was unheard of. Every movie in which a woman was wronged in some way, she had to forgive. We even saw that in Darlings, which frustrated me no end because I was like, why is Alia Bhatt's character being so forgiving? Like, why doesn't she just kill him, right? Anjam is cathartic for so many women because it's like it she's so cold and vindictive. It's like, revenge is a dish best served cold. She rehabilitates Shah Rukh's character. He's murdered her husband and child. She rehabilitates him, gets him in one piece. He believes she's in love with her, and then she kills him. Like,
Yeah.
that's harsh,
Yeah.
but also awesome at the same time. The
Yeah.
only other time I remember someone doing that is, of course, Rekha Kun Bhari Mang, and also Urmila's character in Ek Hasina Thi, where she just dumps Saif in the cave and she's like, bye, enjoy your life.
Yeah.
Um, so she's done stuff like that, which I think was like risky, but also a power move, because if you're
Hmm.
a heroine and you're doing stuff like that, there's a risk that people are going to like reject you.
And even
Um,
in these two horrible films that I have brought to the table today, she's very centric,
yeah,
central. I'm sorry, central is the word that I mean. She does have more to do than be a pretty face, and she's
right.
very good at it. So,
Yeah.
and I feel like she is one of those people that I think when we were talking about Meenakshi, and I brought forward our friend Temple's assessment of like poor so and so, like surrounded by so much dreck so much of the time.
Yes.
This is another key example of that
Yeah.
phenomenon, and she seems to be the she and Sridevi, I'd say, are the
Mhm.
biggest, most luminous people from among the drag.
Yeah, for sure. No, I've definitely seen, as a Madhuri fan, I've seen a lot of her very terrible films. And so, what used to happen in India, especially when I would go on holiday, is that channels like Star Plus and Z Cinema, they would often show older movies, but they never showed like the really big, like the big hits, especially Z Cinema. And I don't know if that was because they were more expensive. So they would
Mm,
just show like, they would show movies like Prem Pratigya or whatever, like that no one really cares about, or like Vardi, which is like a really old movie of Madhuri's with Jackie, or they would show Dayavan. So they would show all these like kind of movies that she did in the beginning of her career. And I would, of course, lap them all up and I would watch them all. And I was like, this movie is kind of sucks, but I'll still watch it for her. And she's still great, despite all the terrible
yeah.
things that are happening. So she's done a lot of stuff like that, which I like. She has a really good role in Lajja, where she has this amazing dialogue, where she basically gives this like verbal tongue lashing to these terrible people. She's awesome in that. Um, and even when she's like in a very light-hearted, pretty Yash Chopra movie like Dil To Pagal Hai, which is like it's a very vanilla movie. I've never heard anyone say that Dil To Pagal is their favorite movie of all time or whatever. But she's great in that too. So it's like she can do all the things that you want her to do, but she's really at her best when she's given a meaty role. She's also really good in Mrityudand, which is a
Mm,
movie made by, I think, Prakash Jha, and she's paired with Arbaz Khan in it, and she's amazing in that film as well. I like her in Beta, where
yeah.
she's really good in Beta, and especially like the crafty shrewdness and the Machiavellian. I think
Hmm.
a phrase I would use to describe her characters is, have you heard that phrase, iron hand and velvet glove?
Sure.
That's kind of how I see her,
Mm,
because she's this very dainty, delicate looking, very beautiful woman with all the curves, and she's stunning. She looks like an apsara basically, and she dances like an apsara, and she's sexy and all the things. But then at the same time, she is capable of these like acts of violence with
yeah.
like fight or
Yeah.
whatever. And like she can bring the fury out, and it's a little bit incongruous because you expect her to be the damsel in distress, but she's not.
Mm, mm,
And I think on some level is also very exciting. Like she's often got a lot of like hero wale dialogues and
hmm.
hero scenes, even though she's not technically the hero, but she ends
Yeah.
up being the hero. So I think that's one thing people like. So anyway, I watched Pukar, and I really like that movie because she plays essentially a stalker in it. And the good thing about Pukar, the non-frustrating thing about Pukar, is that the movie makes it very clear from the get-go that stalking is not a good thing to do, and the movie is not validating her and saying that what she's doing is fine. No one is rationalizing her behavior. She's basically shown as an unhinged person who needs to learn that a no means no. And eventually she does, but a lot of damage has been done by then. And then she has a really wonderful scene where she comes clean to Om Puri. I think she does that so
Mm,
well when she realizes the kind of chaos that she has wrought. And Om Puri is so furious with her, and her micro expressions on her face are so good, and her apology and the fact that she really wants to make it right is really kind of like sad, even though her character is such a jerk. So basically the story of Pukar is that Anil and Madhuri have been friends since they were little. He's in the army. Her dad was in the army. So they kind of like live in a military cantonment. And he friend zones her. He just thinks of her as a friend, but she's been in love with him forever. And then a new cute girl comes to town, which is Namrata Shirodkar, and she
Mm,
plays a Miss India, and she actually was a Miss India. And Anil Kapoor is besotted with her. And Madhuri's character simply cannot take it. And she's like, no, you will pay attention to me. And she just gets more and more progressively unhinged as the movie goes. And it's really well done because she doesn't go from like cute and sweet to unhinged. You can see even when she's being cute and pleasant and amiable, you can tell she's an entitled brat. It's
mm,
like she's kind of like a spoiled kid who has always managed to get her own way, and she uses her pretty privilege. So she's not quite like negative, but you can see this is a person who does not like being told no. So it's very subtle.
mm.
And then all hell breaks loose when Anil Kapoor basically tells her he's not interested in her romantically, and then she does all these terrible things, and then in the end she does make amends for her mistake. So again, I think that was a ballsy move as well, to do a movie like that where really bad things happen as a result of your selfishness and your stalkeriness. Now, in the end, Anil Kapoor does like grow to love her or whatever, but he loves the version that has now apologized and made a lot of mistakes and has said that she's very sorry.
That is whack.
I know.
I mean,
We'll
at
ignore
least
that part.
it's I
Beth is going to throw something at the laptop right now. I'm sure of it, but I'm miles away in California.
these movies, man.
I know.
Mm-mm-mm.
And then what was the other movie I saw? Oh, I saw Khel. It was cute. It was funny. There's Mala Sinha in it, which I can't remember the last time I saw Mala Sinha in a movie, but she was cute. Prem Chopra was usually diabolical, his usual diabolical self. And there was a cake fight at the end. That was excellent as well. There's some fun songs. It's shot heavily in Kenya. So I
Oh,
recognized a lot of locations, and like I was like, this movie looks this suspiciously looks like East Africa. Where is this? And then I looked up on Wikipedia, and they primarily shot in like Nairobi and Nakuru. So I was like, yeah,
cool.
that was great. Um, so yeah, Kale is cute. I haven't seen the original. I think the original has Steve Martin in it, but this is a cute
Right.
movie, and there's no stalkers or anything terrible like that in
Good.
it. So it's like it's a fairly funny screwballish movie. Oh, there's also another interesting movie of hers, which I remember again thinking was a ballsy move. She did it fairly early on in her career. It's called Zindagi Ek Jua, and she plays a drug addict in it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she literally, you see her sort of descent from like being like a normal, ordinary girl who likes to party, and then basically becoming like seriously like addicted to
Mm.
drugs. And I thought that was an interesting choice of
Hmm.
hers. And the woman has played everything. She's played
Hmm.
every single thing you can think of. And she's still doing things. And my gay friends love her for the fact that she's probably the only mainstream A-list superstar who has portrayed a gay person twice now,
Mm.
Date Ishqiya and Majama, and a person who has also, sort of portrayed an ally as she did in Fame Game. So I know my gay friends love that. Like one of my friends who is openly gay literally bawled when they saw Majama because they
Mm.
never thought that they would get to see a movie in which Madhuri, who was like their biggest idol, would basically say on screen that she's a lesbian. And they were like, I could never have
Mm.
been imagining this. And, that was like a big moment for them. Obviously, it did not have that much of an impact on me, but I can understand why that would mean so much
Yeah.
to other folks. So that was interesting too.
Hmm.
What are did you well, I know you're not on Twitter now, but did you talk to some of the people that were sending messages and stuff?
No, this kind of fell in the cracks of my abandoning Twitter into
Right. Yes.
relaunching on Blue Sky. Please come follow me on Blue Sky. Uh So, but I mean, I feel like Madhuri has been a fixture of all Bollywood conversations I've ever had, or all environments that I've had conversations in, right? Like everybody
Yeah.
loves her. So, it's impossible not to have absorbed about her, I think. One thing that I find interesting about her is that so my first movie that of hers,
Mm,
I think that came out as I was, or like I was aware of it coming out, was
mm.
Aaja Nachle.
Oh,
Because, I wasn't watching Hindi movies when Devdas came out, and then there's the few years, right, where I don't think she did anything. Or maybe she did, but
mm.
not much. And then Aaja Nachle comes back, and it's a Yash Raj film, right? And everybody's
Aaja
all
Nachle was
excited.
her comeback.
Right. It surely was not.
Right.
Right. Like everybody was like, yay. And then nothing happened. It seemed is how I remember it. Now, maybe I'm
Right.
remembering wrong. And obviously that was 17 years ago. So like it's been a while and she does do things. But it seemed
Yeah.
like, that was really interesting to watch because people said they were excited she's coming back, but then I'm not really sure that they were. But also, just because an audience loves you does not mean anything necessarily about what you're going to
Mhm.
get offered or what you choose to do and things like that. And obviously, she has straddled living in the US and working in India a lot and things like that. So, but I would love to someone who's a real scholar like look back at Ajay Nachle and the press and all around Ajay Nachle and like what happened there. Um, did that go the way
Yeah.
everybody wanted
I
it
mean,
to? I
I
don't know.
I was actually in India when Aaja Nachle released, and my friend and I were gonna go watch. No, my cousin and I were gonna go watch it first day first show because we're huge giant Madhuri fans. And we're like, "Yay, she's back!" And so we went to watch it. And I don't remember loving the movie. I mean, I liked it. I thought it was cute. I liked the idea
Hmm.
that there's dance school and everything. I think the problem with Aaja Nachle was that it just didn't seem like the kind of movie you would go to the theater to watch. It wasn't big.
Hmm.
I don't know if you know what I'm saying. It
Yeah.
felt like a small, tiny indie movie,
Mm,
and that's not as exciting. And it had like it was fine. It wasn't that exciting. It was okay, but it's not a movie I've watched again. I've seen it the one time. It was cute. I like watching Madhuri in things that are like big. Like I want to watch her in stuff like Khalnayak. I want to watch her in
mm,
stuff like, or if she's gonna do a smaller movie, like say something like Majama, then I want it to be at least, or De Dishka, whatever. Then I want it to be something that's really punchy and important. Her coming back to like revive a dance school, it just feels so niche. And also she didn't stick around for promotions because her kids were
ah,
still really little. So I remember there wasn't like a lot of buzz about it. Also, there's no like real hero in the film. Like, doesn't
right.
the movie have Kunal? Is it Kunal Kapoor in it?
He's and Konkana's there with him, right? But then Akshay Khanna is kind of
Right.
and
But these are
I actually
again not,
enjoy them together, but yeah, that's not enough,
yeah, like
probably.
these are not
Yeah.
names that people are going to be like, oh my God, let's go see it. So I feel like it just wasn't what people were expecting, and it was hard for people to be super excited about it.
Yeah.
And she didn't really stick around to promote it too much, and then she went back to the US. And I think with the fans it was also a thing of like, wait, so is she just going to come to India, do like a movie or so, and then go back, or she's sticking around? And then if you're not sticking around, I think it's hard to also kind of stay in the buzz.
Yeah,
Also,
sure.
Aja Nachle, with the exception of that, the title song, it didn't really have like a great soundtrack that was, people wanted like a big Madhuri dance number. There wasn't that. They wanted like a big, flashy love story. There wasn't that. I mean, it's kind of like it feels a little indie. And I don't know if you want an indie movie to be your big, splashy comeback film. So I don't know. It felt a little
I think if it's
odd.
going to be indie, it needs to be more interesting than that one or more
Right.
unusual or something. Yeah.
Exactly. Like then
Yeah.
it needs to have some sort of hook to it. But this one just felt very like middle of the road and a little bit
Mm,
vanilla, I think. And so it was like, okay. And then she's like mentoring these people, and it's like, okay, whatever. Um, but I know that a lot of people love her as Chandramukhi in Devdas. I mean, that movie's terrible. But I like her in the songs, and I
sure.
love her and the songs. I don't even like Shah Rukh in the songs though. He's just awful from, and I say this as a Shah Rukh Khan fan. But I think Devdas is more what people like her for than something like Aaja Nachle.
Sure.
And she was actually pregnant in the song Dola Re Dola. So she had actually told Sanjay Leela Bhansali that he needed to shoot that song earlier on in the shooting
Mm,
schedule, because like before she started showing and before it, she would not be able to do that kind of intense choreography and stuff. So I Dola Re Dola for sure was shot a little early on, and I think some of the other songs like Kahe Ched Mohe and Mardala and stuff, I think all of those were kind of like front loaded a little bit in the shooting before she started showing too much. And then she just kind of vanished and raised her kids and everything. And then years later came back with Aaja Nachle. But then she and her husband and her kids just moved back to India permanently. And now she's much more like a fixture. But there were those years where it was just kind of like, what do you? I think it's hard to sustain your stardom
I'm
if you're going
sure,
to do the whole like fly in, fly out kind of thing, especially
especially
when,
pre-social media, right?
yeah. And especially when there's every Friday, there's some new face being launched. Are they going to last? No, but they get some amount of buzz that you're not getting.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. Did you like her role in Khalnayak? We were just talking about women police officers
Oh,
recently.
yeah, and that's why I chose that one actually to go back to.
Yeah,
I did. I thought she's amazing in that film. I
yeah,
also think Sanjay Dutt's really good in that film, which is not a thing I find myself thinking super often.
I
Although
know.
I my problem with him is his real life. Like I don't mind him as an actor at all, and I've actually enjoyed him quite a bit in a few films. Again, he's in an era that I don't like.
Yeah,
He's in a lot of hyper violent movies, but um yeah, I think she's great. I think she's really great in this film, and she is, well, like you were saying, she's an all-rounder. She's absolutely using all her skills in this
yeah,
film. I think the character is interesting. I think it's a pretty good role, and I think she really brings everything correct to it.
yeah.
She's so fun. As I was watching, I was trying to think, is there anyone else, putting aside the dancing even?
Mm,
Because I think Chole Ki Piche would be amazing with anyone in it because the song itself is so good. And Illa
yeah,
Aron, like,
yeah.
it's so interesting. It's so like meaty and raw and like
Punchy.
amazing. And we just don't see as many songs like that. Like I
Yeah,
think any one of her contemporaries would have been great in that song. Probably she's better. But
yeah,
so even if you put that song aside, um, there's so much asked of this character, and I think she really is great. And even at the end when she's in prison and you know it's maybe a little fantastical at times, but that's not
yeah,
a problem, right? But it's good.
yeah.
My problem with Khalnayak, other than it's kind of boring in parts, honestly, like the whole
It's
criminal
very
stuff,
long.
like it's kind of long and I don't really care about some of that is, all right. I feel like when we talk about cops in Indian cinema, one
Mhm.
of the concepts that comes up sometimes is that it can be a little hard to make a cop who's interesting to watch because some of them are too goody-goody.
Yes.
And I feel like the one that always gets named is Amar, and Amar Akbar Anthony, played by
Right.
my beloved Vinod Khanna. And I agree, he's like uptight, upright, and kind of boring.
Or
But
Chashin
Jackie,
Diwar.
yeah, Jackie and Shashi Indiwar, yeah. And Jackie Shroff in this movie is so boring. He is such a goody-goody drudge. It doesn't help that he's named Ram and they hammer that incessantly. But it's like there's a scene where they're in a cemetery, he's having a big fight, and that he's in front of a gravestone that says God is great on it. We're like, we got it. He I
It's
just
also a
every
Subhash Ghai movie, and no one has ever accused Subhash Ghai of being subtle. The man is not
I don't
subtle.
mind unsettled. That's not a problem for me. But I was just like, he's such a goody-goody snooze.
Yeah.
And I don't want, and I mean, again, girl, just be single. It's fine.
Right.
This guy's, he's, I don't know. I don't think he's a bad person or whatever. I just, that,
Right.
what a thankless role Jackie Schroff had in this movie.
Have you seen, please tell me you've seen Ram Lakhan.
I have.
So it's the same thing though with Jackie, right?
Yeah,
And I think part of it, yes, the writing being very lazy and writing this extremely unidimensional character, but a lot of it is also Jackie's acting skills
I
that
wonder about that too. And he's like that in Roop Ki Rani, which I really love, but I
like
love it
that
for
in a
Anil and
lot
Sri
of
Devi.
stuff.
Not for, yeah, it's just,
Yeah.
I think I've said this before. I don't get his appeal at all,
Right.
but definitely not. I mean, probably someone else could have brought a little something to this role. He
Yeah.
was not, but I mean, the role is a slog. But
Yeah.
also, I was like, thank goodness she's there being so amazing and that Sanjay Dutt is being like weird and interesting in a way
Yeah.
that really suits, I felt. But I was like, man, just get him to just cut all the parts with Jackie Schroff, all of them.
Yeah. No, Sanjay Dutt is definitely kind of like maniacal in this
Yeah.
movie and like
Well, and it
wacko.
has I don't know if I thought this when I first saw the film, but it has a slightly autobiographical tinge to it, right? And I believe that he went to jail during the filming of this, right? Or like some of that stuff started to happen
Yeah. Or
at the
right
time.
after or something. It was
So
definitely brewing.
you can kind of imagine, at least in hindsight, you can imagine Sanjay Dutt being a disappointment to his parents and was his mother dead by that time? She was,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So at least for his dad and just being like, you can kind of imagine and being this, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know Sanjay Dutt's trajectory particularly well or anything.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to kind of think about that. And um, it's a great role. And I think he did really well too. It's weird and
Yeah,
fun.
Khulnayak is interesting because he like it literally means villain, and
Yeah.
Sanjay Dutt is very like villainous in it, and then Jackie Shroff is the antithesis, and he's very goody goody. The only person that has any shades in it is Madhuri because she's like snotty and she's also a little
Yeah.
bit rude and she's
Because
also
she's
funny.
undercover, right? Like I
Yeah,
don't know if her main character would have a whole lot of that going on, but because she gets to go undercover and play a second role.
yeah,
It was so amazing to think that this comes out the same year as Dar and Buzzygar, right? Because we have
oh
some
yeah.
similar like dark, well, obviously um
It was a
Dark
dark and edgy
Shark is the
year.
villain, but Buzzygar, well, I mean they're both the villain, but you have these kind of, Sanjay Dutt fits in with that really nicely with
Yeah.
some of this kind of stuff. So
I also think that the fact that Madhuri acted with people like, because she had a real long hit pairing with Jackie Shroff as well, and with Sanjay Dutt. Of course, I think her longest pairing has been with Anil Kapoor. They've done, I think they've done like 18 movies together.
wow.
Yeah. And I watched a video interview of Anil once when he was, I think he was asked who his favorite co star was. And he said, hands down, Madhuri Dixit. And it's because Boney Kapoor used to produce the films. Anil Kapoor would star in them. And both brothers, their first choice was always Madhuri. So they would both immediately be like, hey, we have a role. You want to do it? And she'd be like,
Mm,
sure. And so that's how they would do it because they have like a really good off screen friendship. And Anil
mm,
Kapoor talked about how they have great chemistry, they have great timing, they're both very disciplined. And also, as a producer, you
mm,
want a person who's very professional, who doesn't throw tantrums.
mhm.
So it was like a great working relationship. And he was like, if Madhuri said no, then we would approach other actresses. So I actually think that she benefited greatly from working with duds like Jackie Shroff and Sanjay Dutt because they were so unidimensional that she's very good as it is, but she looks even better.
She shines next to them, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause there Jackie Shroff is one of the most one-note actors in Hindi cinema, but he was a star. And so when if you're sharing scene with Jackie Shroff, of course you're going to eat him alive. It's Jackie Shroff. You're Madhuri. Of course you're going to do better than him.
Do you
Or if you're working
think
with Sanjay Dutt.
do you think it's do you think she is exceptionally good at kind of making her own magic and like her own light and everything? Because as
Yeah,
you were talking, I can kind of I think there's a lot of particularly women who have to do that, but maybe she's possibly the very best of them
I
of
think
all,
so.
right?
I think so because she's notoriously diplomatic. She's
Yeah.
definitely not someone that I would say is like unfiltered at all. She's very, very diplomatic, but she is someone that if you've looked at her trajectory, she managed to do roles. She sought out roles that she knew she would be able to do justice to. And she was very active in her own career in making sure that she was getting roles of her own caliber. So she's
Mm,
very, very sharp
mm,
in a way that a lot of her contemporaries weren't. And I think she's also very grounded and was able to take risks that people were scared to do. Like
mm,
if you've seen video interviews of Juhi or Karishma or Ravina, Juhi's more for contemporary, but Karishma, Ravina are a lot younger than Madhuri is. But towards in the 90s, they were kind of like doing similar things, or in the same sort of playing field. There's so many roles that those women rejected purely out of fear because they
mm.
didn't think that they could they could do it, or because they didn't want to take risks. But if you do that and you just play it safe all the time, you're not going to have a lot of you're not going to have a good filmography. And I
Mm.
think she did, to some extent, what Shah Rukh Khan gets a lot of credit for doing, which is she's taken a lot of risks, except no one really
Hmm.
talks about it. They talk about
Hmm.
Shah Rukh doing things
Oh
like
yeah.
psychotic people
Yeah.
like Dar and whatnot, but she's done her fair share of roles like that, and people don't really talk about it. But I think she sought those roles out, and she made sure that she worked with co-stars and with banners that gave her those roles. And sometimes I feel like those risks didn't play out, but
Sure.
you can see why she thought it was a good idea. Like,
Yeah.
when I was growing up, I really loved Thomas Hardy's novels. I'm an emo person, of course I
Mm.
did. And I loved Tess of the D'Urbervilles.
Mm.
And so when I heard that RK Productions was going to make a Tess of the D'Urbervilles adaptation, being a very optimistic and foolish person, I thought, this is going to be great. I get to see Tess of the D'Urbervilles in Hindi film format. That movie, of course, was Prem Granth narrator says it was not like Tess of the D'Urbervilles. That movie is horrific. It is horrible. I hate it from the bottom of my heart. It is so, so bad. So it's an RK Productions film. Rishi Kapoor stars in it. I forget who the director was. I think it was Rajiv Kapoor, our favorite Kapoor. um, I believe Rajiv directed it, and Rishi was this co-star, and Madhuri's in it. Again, that's a female centric role. It's called Prem Granth, and she's the main person in it. And the movie itself is horrible, but I can see why she did that role, because it was so, like, it's so meaty, and she has a
Yeah.
chance to really show off her acting skills in it. It's a pity the movie's terrible, but what else did you expect from Rajiv
Yeah.
Kapoor? And then she also balanced that with doing all of these very glam roles, right? Like, she did all of these like really good roles that solidified her stardom. Like, if you're gonna go do a movie like Mrityudand, which she got a lot of critical acclaim for, but it's like this very hard hitting movie, then you also gotta go and do a Hum Aapke Hain Kaun, which is really going to cement your stardom. So I think she was very smart about, doing those things. And then doing fluff like Dil To Pagal Hai, but I mean, it's popular.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I
Who
think
is your favorite of her male co-stars?
I really like Anil Kapoor.
Yeah.
Um, when I watched Pukar, I was actually talking about this with my husband. I I'll never say I'm an Anil Kapoor fan, but one thing I like about Anil Kapoor is that he's done a lot of films where he really doesn't matter a lot, and he has
Mm.
a smaller role, and it's really the heroine who's taking over, and he's fine with it. And I think
Mm.
for a profession that is full of extremely vain people, such as actors, I think it takes a certain amount of security in a person to do
Yeah.
that. He's done so many films like Lamhe, where Devi is the star, or
Yeah.
Beta, where Madhuri is the star. He's smart enough and shrewd enough to know that that actress is going to walk away with all the accolades, right? But he's done those. And I do think that to some extent, Anil Kapoor is at least a tiny bit responsible for Madhuri's stardom, because he did those films with her where she had an opportunity to star with someone she had excellent chemistry with, but she
Hmm.
really could shine, which a lot of actors wouldn't have done that with her. Like, I cannot see Shah Rukh Khan ever doing a film with Madhuri where he's going to let her shine. Shah Rukh has to be the star. I love him, but Shah Rukh does not share stardom with anybody
Mm.
the way that Anil does. So I think I have a little bit of a soft spot for Anil Kapoor, because I
Hmm.
think he's a very secure actor. And so
Hmm.
I also like their chemistry together. I enjoy it. I like her with Jackie because I think they look really good together. They're very cute
Mm.
together. He can't act for shit, but it's okay. Um, I don't particularly like her with Sanjay Dutt because he's
Mm.
too uncouth, for lack of a
Mm.
better word. And she's so, I don't know, sophisticated. So it just seems off to me. I don't enjoy them together. I guess it's fine with Amir. I do not like Salman Khan at all, but I like them together.
Mm.
I think especially in like rom-coms or in like comedy situations, again, they look really good together and they're cute together. Like, there's this very stupid movie, Sajan. It was a big hit. It
I've
has
seen that.
Sanjay Dutt and Salman in it. Her and Salman's scenes together, like their meet cute and the romantic scene, they're so cute. They're very like bubbly and fun and like, yes, I would say even Salman.
Hmm.
Yeah. What about you? Is it Jackie?
No, I don't despite having seen 20 of the films, I'm not sure I have enough to say yeah, I don't no one comes to the fore for me.
Yeah.
Um Probably Anil if I had to pick,
Yeah.
but that's because I like him the most of all those guys.
Right.
So that's not the same question. But
You like Mithun and Anil and Madhuri have, I mean, Madhuri and Mithun have done movies together and their chemistry is horrific, by the way.
I bet it is. That doesn't sound right at all.
They are two very different
That does
flavors.
not sound right at all.
And when you see them on screen, you're just like, oh God,
Eh?
what is happening? I don't understand this. I think she's done one movie, at least one movie with Vinod Khanna, which is Deewan. And then
I've
she's
seen
done
that.
one movie with his son, with
Yep.
Akshay Khanna. I don't
She's done at
remember
least
what it's
two.
called.
Well, I mean, there's
Huh?
Aaja Nachle if you count that, but then she did
Oh
Mohabbat,
yeah,
it's called, right?
Mohabbat. That's the one I'm thinking. I
And
haven't
I
seen Mohabbat.
love one of the songs from Mohabbat, and I can't believe I forgot about that movie until it was too late to watch it for this, but I
Okay.
love Oh Baby Don't Break My Heart. I love
Oh,
that.
I know that song.
I don't know why. I just love it.
Um, I actually don't like her pairing with Shah Rukh, which is weird. Because I love Shah Rukh and Kajal, and I love Shah Rukh and Rani, and to some extent, I also like Shah Rukh and Juhi. I love Shah Rukh so much, and I love Madhuri so much, but I don't want to see them together, and I don't know
Mm.
what it is. I think Dil To Pagal hai. Some of it is also they've done some questionable movies. Like, have you seen Koila?
No, that's still on my list.
Avoid.
I
Avoid.
know. I'll get to it at some point, but I did consider that one for this. I'm like, nah.
The most avoid your part of it is actually Shah Rukh's character. It is bonkers, and not in a good way.
Yeah,
It's just bonkers in a very, very bad way.
yeah,
They've done Koila, which is terrible. They've done. Have you seen Hum Tumhare Hai Sanam?
yes.
It is so bad, Beth.
So I was making myself a little list of so what people may have picked up on, but what I have not flat out said yet, so I'll say it now is I don't consider myself a Madhuri fan, particularly like
Okay,
I like her and I get why other people like her. I
right.
just like I just quite I don't quite. I'm not quite there. And again, as I was saying, this feels like an opinion I'm not supposed to admit out loud, but here we are. Um, but I was looking at what have I seen of her movies, and the
Mm,
first four movies that I saw were Hum Aapke Hain Kaun, which I
mhm,
hate with a fiery passion,
mhm,
Devdas, Dil To Pagal Hai, and
mm.
Hum Tumhare Hin Sanam.
Yeah,
So it's like the seed was planted in terrible soil, and I've never been able to transplant it or something. I pardon my metaphors, but like I I don't know. And obviously I've seen her in plenty of good. I've seen
yeah,
plenty of what many people consider her good films. Not all of
right.
them, but but I just and that's not her fault. It's
Yeah,
not her. It's
it's also the era.
yeah, it's the
Like,
era
if
and
you
this
don't
kind of
vibe with that era, you just
yeah,
won't vibe with that era.
yeah. But yeah, a couple that, some of these movies you're mentioning, I'm just like, oh.
Hum Tumhare Hai Sanam especially is so frustrating because on the surface of it, I mean, on the face of it, that is some serious star power. You're talking Shah Rukh Khan, Salman Khan, and Madhuri at the
Yeah,
peak of their stardom,
yeah,
and all three of them in one film. I mean, that movie should be like a blockbuster,
yeah.
right? But it wasn't. It sank
No.
without a trace. And I think it had like some financing issues or whatever, is what I've read. And it took forever to get made, which is why it
Mm.
looks very dated and patchy and terrible. And the movie is just bad. It's just a bad movie. Um, and it's like, why? What a wasted opportunity. You have the budget to cast these three people together and you did this terrible film. Like, okay. Yeah, that is a bad movie. Yeah. So I think for me, my dislike of the Madhuri and Shah Rukh pairing is also based on the fact that the films of theirs together that I've seen are horrible. Like, I hate Devdas with a fiery passion. I do not like Koila. It is a bad movie. I despise Hum Tumhare Sanam. I mean, Dil To Pagal is the best of the lot. And
Yeah.
I do unironically love Anjam, but only because the revenge person in me loves
Oh yeah.
bloodthirsty
Well, and
revenge.
it's so dramatic and, kind of
I loves it.
engaging and everything. Yeah, no, I like it
Yeah.
too.
One of my favorite Madhuri anecdotes that because like all her co-stars love her, right? And my
Mm,
favorite anecdote of hers was told by Shah Rukh Khan. I was watching a video interview of his, and he was asked like a moment that really stands out in his memory of like shooting with his co-stars, and he said in Anjam, there's that song "Barso ke baad Aayi Mujhko Yaad," where he's in the wheelchair, she's in this
hmm
yellow sari. That entire song was shot in one take,
hmm
and he talked about how amazing it was because he's just sitting in a wheelchair,
Yeah.
and he had choreographed all her steps, and she had all these marks on the set where like she has to pirouette here, and then she has to come here, and then she has to do this, and then she has to give a close up to this camera, and then she goes there, and then she swings the wheelchair. It was an extremely complicated choreography, and it took her, like, she did it perfectly, and when
Mm.
she was done and she stopped, the entire set was like pin drop silence. Not a
Wow.
person said a word. And
Wow.
then they said cut. And then she burst into tears and she
Oh.
started crying. And everyone was just like, oh my God, what did this? And he was just like, I've never been in awe of a co-star like I was
Wow.
in that moment. And I was
hmm
like, that must have been hella complicated. Like, what a true professional. And after listening to that interview, I actually went and watched the song on YouTube, and it's complicated.
I'm
There's
sure.
all these things she's doing, and she does them great. Why they
Mm.
had to do it in a one take, I don't know. But like, and even the fact that she burst into tears at the end of it, it just like, I was just like, but you're great. We love you. Okay, so that brings us to the most important and most intellectual part of our episode, which is ice cream.
Which I forgot about until midway recording, and I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna have to come up with an ice cream flavor, and I simply do not know.
Your excuse can be that you live in Illinois and it is cold and it's December, and how can anyone expect you to think of ice cream?
I mean, it's been -8 Celsius, -10 Celsius at night for the last couple of
Yeah, we
nights, so
blame.
it's
You were
extremely
thinking of
cold.
hot
It's
cocoa right
unseasonably
now.
cold.
Yeah.
But you say yours, and if I can come up with one, I will add it.
Okay. So my answer is based on a ridiculous fan theory that my cousin and I came up with. So our ridiculous fan theory, because you must remember we were teenagers and very foolish. Not that we're not foolish now, we're still foolish. We're just not teenagers anymore. So as teenagers, we came up with a fan theory that whenever Madhuri wears an orange outfit, which is her color, the song becomes a hit. This theory was based, so therefore orange is lucky for her, according to us.
Sure.
This theory is based on the fact that she's wearing an orange outfit in Choli Ke Piche Kya Hai, Dhak Dhak Karne Laga, the song from Lajja Badi Mushkil, Mai Ni Mai from Hum Aapke Hain Kaun. Like, there are so many movies in which she's worn an iconic orange outfit, and then the song
Ah,
becomes a big hit and the movie's a hit. So our theory was that as fans, we wanted Madhuri to wear one orange outfit per film, so then that would guarantee the film success. So the ice cream flavor I've picked for her is mango,
ah.
because mango is very iconic. Everybody loves it. No one is ever like, ugh, mango. Everyone loves mango. It's also very rich. It's also very like
Mm,
tropical, very Indian. It's very drama. It's like
hmm
the exact opposite of vanilla. Like, it's got like a tropical punch to it. And it's orange. It's like orangey yellow.
hmm
And it's like spicy, and you can jazz it up. You can put nuts on it and make it festive for like Diwali or something like that. So she is mango ice cream, not
Interesting.
sorbet, not
No,
gelato. It's like
ice cream.
full fat, creamy mango ice cream.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
I was
Do you
just
like the
thinking
ridiculous
about,
fan theory?
mm, I think it's a great theory.
Thank you.
I was thinking about, I feel like the ice cream flavor everybody likes in my world anyway is chocolate.
Yes.
Um, and obviously you'd have to get more specific than that, but some kind of like really high quality, not too dark,
Hmm.
but nor milky watered, not too milky
Hmm.
watered down either, but like high quality ingredients, simple is best, probably quite expensive
Hmm.
chocolate ice cream. And
Right.
I don't, I I'm a person who loves a lot of stuff in my ice cream, so I'm not even gonna suggest which brand this might be. Like maybe it's Haagen-Dazs or something like that. But
Right.
yeah, but I like your option better, I think.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that sums it up. And thank you for watching this episode, you guys. Oh, Beth is going to say
Oh,
something.
I would just want to know who is our next superstar? Is it Juhi?
Juhi.
Excellent.
It's Juhi. Because Madhuri debuted in 84 with Abodh, and then Juhi debuted with our beloved Sultanate, which we have already covered in the Karan Kapoor episode. And that came out in 86, if I'm not mistaken. Just
Perfect.
to remember. So it will be helium voice Juhi. I already know my ice cream flavor for her.
You're so mean about her voice.
You know who put that in my head? Aspi. Aspi used to say helium voiced Juhi Chawla. And once I actually said, what does that even mean? What is helium voiced? And then I didn't know about the thing that people do.
Oh,
I had no idea because that's like a very American thing where you do
yeah.
the balloon and then your voice sounds weird.
Yeah.
And he was like, every time I watch a Juhi Chawla movie, I feel like she did that with the balloon and then she said her dialogue. And I was
Poor
like, oh,
Juhi.
and now it's stuck in my head. But anyway, so yes, Juhi is next. Anyway, so thank you for watching our episode and let us know what you think. We are very eager and willing to listen to your Madhuri opinions. Also, I know we discussed our favorite co-star pairings with her, but would you go on record as saying that you think that Aditya Pancholi is hands down the worst one? I feel like he has to be the worst one.
I mean, sure,
Okay.
sure, but I mean, I just finished Khalnayak yesterday. I'm like, man, Jackie's such a dud in that film. So like, I'm kind of on the anti-Jackie train at the moment. So but I suspect there are more opportunities for differences in that pairing because they did more films together, I
Right.
assume, than she did with Aditya Pancholi. But so you picked the wrong day to ask me, but I can easily believe that that's true. Oh, but
Yeah.
it sounds like Mithun might be even worse.
Mithun is also, but I mean, I haven't seen Sailaab, so I can't speak. I just don't particularly care for Aditya Panchali, and I think that's a weird flavor. But the Madhuri and Mithun combination is very odd. It is
I
not
did
about.
mean to watch some of their songs just to see, but yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
manage my
Also,
time
the movies
properly,
they
but
did together are terrible,
sure.
so you're better off just watching. But even the songs will give you an idea of how weird that pairing is. Anyway, very strange pairing. Anyway, tell us what your favorite Madhuri movies are. Tell us who your favorite Madhuri co-stars are, and then tell us if you agree with that she is the person that has been most mistreated on screen, or do you think, like me,
Mhm.
that it's the poor '90s heroines like Madhuri, Manisha, Juhi, all of
Kind
them
of all
had to deal with
together.
a lot of
Yeah.
nonsense,
Mm,
a lot of bakwas. This is your chance to say bakwas, Beth.
so much Buck West.
Too much bakwas. All right. Thank you for watching. Bye.